Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to show you how to take your application from concept to live within a few hours. So you can be ready with a functioning and demonstrable demo of your application within a few hours. And then finally, of course, you can spend a few more days to take it to the prototype stage. So before we do that, I wanted to introduce my panelist here, Dimitri from digitalasset. He's going to be taking us through, through some live coding and also give you a live example of what it will look like once it's deployed. What we are going to be talking about today is, so this is just the CTO for AWS was on stage last year at AWS reInvent, and he said all the code you ever write is going to be business logic. So that's the future, and happy to say that the future is almost here. And Today we are going to use the Daml smart contract language, which is really a very easy way for you to build applications from scratch, and it allows you to only focus on the business logic and not on all of the scaffolding that goes around it. And we're going to show you a sample of that today. Um, we are going to be using projectdaml.com. This is a cloud-based environment for Daml, which abstracts away all of the infrastructural complexities from you as you develop your applications. So using Daml, you focus on your business logic. You write your workflow in Daml, you deploy it on Project Daml, and it's automatically ready for use by your users. So you don't have to worry about servers, load balancing, performance, availability, none of those things. Everything is managed by Project Daml. Project Daml automatically also exposes APIs from your Daml smart contract code. So your front end, which is also going to be deployed on Daml, which Dimitri is going to show you how, can use those APIs that are automatically exposed by Project Daml. So you don't have to worry about any of those security, authentication, and APIification of your application as well. So without further ado, then we'll get started with a simple demo of what the application looks like in production. So Dimitri is going to show that. We're going to play around with it for a couple of minutes, and then Dimitri is going to show you how to actually code it, make some enhancements to it, and then deploy it and test it. So we'll be doing all of that in the next 30 minutes. So you will see how we can go from an idea that you have to a working demo and actually a fully functioning application live in about 30-35 minutes. So Dimitri, let me stop sharing. Yeah.
Yep. Hey everyone. So let me share my screen. All right, you guys should be able to see my screen. So yeah, before we start getting into coding, what I'd like to show first is the initial version of the application that we're going to be rewriting and extending its functionality, and then show you how you can actually fetch it yourself, since this lives in an open source repo that we host. So this is the, if I switch here tabs and I go to the Daml app template, this is the basically an application template that is open sourced and live on GitHub. You can take it and with a few steps, you can build it locally and then deploy it to Project Daml. This is a deployed version, so all I have to do to log in is I can click the button, and given that I have already a Project Daml account, this is going to redirect me straight into the app. If not, it would prompt me, actually it has to prompt me right now to sign in or sign up. I already have an account. I'm going to just use my Google credentials. And within a few moments, I'm in the application. It's a pretty trivial app. It has a single report page, and it's listing assets that are represented as Daml contracts. These assets have an issuer, which is a party in the system. Daml uses party IDs to represent every party in the system. So then it has an owner field, again, party ID. It happens to be that given that I've created everything, I'm also the issuer and the owner, and this is my party ID, which is the same as my user field here. And then I have three different assets. I have a TV, a car, and a laptop. And all the functionality that this application has is to be able to transfer those assets, exercising a give choice, and nominating a new owner. So what I'm going to do right now, just to check that this is properly live and working, is that I'm going to invite my friend Manish and just give him maybe a car or the laptop. So let me just go ahead and send the URL to
Excited about getting the car, Dimitri.
him. Copy this. Yep. Um, Switch to the chat and let me just IM you the link, Manish. Go.
Okay, yeah, I have the URL in my chat, and I'm going to go log in and register.
And given that I am the author of the app and I'm hosting it on my own ledger in Project Daml, I'm going to log into Project Daml. And I'm going to enter the ledger that is the one that's hosting this app. So this is this ledger here. I'm going to click on it. If I go to live data, I see the three assets that I'm seeing on my front end. Manish just logged in, so I'm seeing that the new user entered my application. I'm not able to see their data if I actually navigate to this tooltip here because Manish has their own data. Even though that I'm the creator of this application, I still can't see things that I'm not permissioned to see. But now since Manish is over, what I can do is I can fetch his party ID from this dropdown right here. So Manish, copy the party ID. I'm going to switch back to my template. And Manish, you said you want the car, right? So I'm going to do the car. So I'm going to paste Manish's party ID, click give, and all of a sudden I remain the issuer, but the owner of the asset has transferred.
Okay, let me see if I have the car now. Yeah, I have the car. And yeah, I think users can't see it. So let me just share my screen quickly, Dimitri, for 1 second and show them that I indeed have the car. Okay, so if everybody can see my screen, you see that, oh, Dimitri also gave me a television. So I have a television and a car from Dimitri. And this is the issuer. So I'm going to give it back to Dimitri now. So you'll see the car as well as, oops, and the television on Dimitri's screen now. I'm going to stop sharing, Dimitri.
Yep, thank you. And now we're back to the initial state where I remain the issuer and the owner of all three assets. So that's what we're going to be working with. We're going to extend it to add some quantities, so to make fungible assets. And then we're going to also add some functionality to be able to split an asset that has some quantity into smaller parts, and also use multiple assets to merge them back into a single one. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to log out from here. And oh, by the way, before we start getting into code, I just want to show you where we're hosting this app template that you can find and clone yourselves and use. This is under the digital asset repository. There's a Daml UI template. This is open source. I believe we have a Apache 2 license for this, and the instructions should be pretty straightforward to follow. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some coding. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to invoke the Daml assistant, and I'm going to create a new project that I'm going to call, let's say, meetup. So all I have to do is Daml new meetup. Hit enter. And I get a notification that a new project called meetup based on the template skeleton has been created. If I indeed list all the elements in this directory, I see that the meetup folder has been created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change directory in this folder and launch the Visual Studio Code so I can start editing my code. Okay, great. Let me make this a bit bigger for everyone to see. And this is the skeleton project. It has two Daml files and two Daml files here, and some configuration YAMLs and a get ignore. I'm not going to need much of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the setup. I am going to write my Daml language version, which is 1.2 here. I'm going to lose my scenario. And what I see here is essentially the asset that was present on the Daml UI template on the live application we just displayed. So if you remember, the asset has an issuer, which is a party, an owner, which is another party, and a name, which would be a TV, a car, or a laptop. So I want to extend this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, let's say, an amount, since I want to make it fungible. I'm going to make this a decimal. I'm going to use Daml's precondition to ensure that the amount of this asset always remains actually positive. And I need to add 2 more choices in order to be able to split this into multiple, split an asset into multiple different ones with smaller amounts and merge them back into one. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to call this choice split. I'm expecting this to return a tuple of 2 assets. So I'm going to say asset ID and asset ID. And for arguments of this choice, I need the split amount. So I need to know how much the split is going to be. This obviously is going to be a decimal. And I need to create a split contract ID. And this is going to be, I'm going to recreate this with the amount being the split amount. And I also need the remaining. So I'm going to call this rest CID. Also, you need to create an asset, but this time the amount is going to be the amount minus the split amount. And last but not least, I need to return the tuple. So I'm putting this in a 2 tuple and return. That should be it for the split choice.
Yeah. So Dimitri, while you're there, just wanted to clarify a couple of things for the audience. So when we started, I told you that Daml automatically takes care of authorization. So as you can see, overall, the structure for it is there's an asset, and the choices which are give and split here, they represent the actions that you can take on the asset. And the built-in authorization comes from the fact that you've specified what are called controllers. So in this case, the owner is the only party who can give and split. If the issuer wants to give or split, they have to be the owner of the asset. Otherwise, they will not be able to exercise these choices. So in your application, your development is very simplified because you don't have to keep checking for this every time something comes in, because you know that the Daml runtime is going to stop those unauthorized actions from taking place.
Cool. Thanks for that, Manish. So let's go ahead and add the last choice here called merge. So we're also implying that the owner is still the controller of all 3 choices. Don't need to rewrite the controller owner can on each one of them. And for merging, the result is going to be a single asset ID. No need to put this in parentheses. And we need an argument, and the argument is going to be the other asset that we bring in order to merge it, right? So I'm going to call this other asset contract ID. Oops. And this is going to be of type asset ID. And what I'm going to do is I am going to fetch the other asset from its contract ID by invoking the fetch command. Bring this a bit further up. And I need, before I merge the asset with the other asset, I need to assert that the actual owner and the name of this asset is the same. I can't be merging apples with oranges, or I can't be merging dollars that I own with dollars that Manish owns. So let me go ahead. Let's go ahead and assert that. So use assert other asset dot let's say owner is equal to this asset's owner. And I'm going to do the same thing for the issuer. And I'm also going to do the same thing for the name of the asset. So these are the necessary conditions for this choice to move forward. Now that we know that, what we need to do is we need to archive the contract that we're bringing in, the other asset. So archive other asset CID. And we need to create a new one with an amount being equal to the existing amount plus the other assets amount. Hope this is pretty straightforward to everyone. Given that this is the last statement in the choice, it's automatically implied that we're returning this, which matches our return type of that choice. So that should be it for our Daml model. There's one more thing we need to do here is to go to the daml.yaml file, and given that we've deleted our setup script, we no longer need this parameter here. Great. So what I could do next.
So just
is
one one quick observation again, Dimitri. Just wanted to point out that at the beginning I said Daml is a smart contract language. It's actually helps you model your business processes wherever there are rights and obligations and workflows between multiple parties. It allows you to model them very easily, and productivity is really high. And you can see here in within about 40 lines or so, you've created an asset. You've given the ability to automatically do authorization checks, and you've automatically given the ability for the owner to give the asset to another owner, split the assets, merge the asset, and all of that. So within 35 to 40 lines of code, and that's essentially why I mentioned that all you need to focus on is your business logic. As you can see, there's literally no scaffolding here at all on how your application needs to work, and this is exactly how it is going to be deployed on Project Atlas.
Great. So now I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go to Project Daml and start creating a ledger that is going to host this new model and my UI that I'm going to bring in from the Daml UI template and adjust it accordingly in order to support this new model. And while these are happening, I am going to smoke test this Daml model as well in the local development environment that I have using the Daml assistant. So let's go ahead and do step one first. So I am in Project Daml. I go back to my workspace, and I need one more ledger here. So I'm going to go click on options, create a new ledger, and I'm going to name this meetup. I'm going to click add, and I see a notification that my ledger is being created. This is going to spin up some infrastructure, dedicated infrastructure for my account. And this will need a few minutes to go live and be ready for me to host my application on. So while this is baking, what we could do is we could go back to our terminal and smoke test the application, the Daml model that we just run. So what I could do is I can invoke the Daml start command, which is another command from a Daml assistant. I will spin up a local development user interface for me to test my model. So I hit start, and I see that my Daml is getting compiled into a DAR, and then a sandbox is started locally on my machine, and another tool called the Navigator, which is the front-end development tool, is also launched on my local host and is ready for me to check my models. So I can go ahead and log in as Alice. And if I zoom this in a bit more, if I go to the templates page, I see that I have the asset template that I just created. So I'm going to click on it, and as Alice, I'm going to create an asset. I'm going to make this, let's say, the TV. Actually, because now we have fungible things, we can't split TVs. So we're going to, let's make this United States dollars. And we're going to use $1,000. Click on submit. I see the check mark, and then an asset should be popping up. So an asset is just popped up. If I click on it, I see that Alice is the issuer and the owner of US dollars of 1,000 ones. And let me now test my, my new functionality. So I am going to call split, and I need the split amount. Let's make this 300, do a 300-700 split. I click on submit, and I go back to my contracts page. Now I do see that I have two contracts, and an easier way of seeing this is going to templates and clicking on this little agreement button here. And I see that the $1,000 have been archived, and now I do have 300 and 700 split. If I hide the archived ones, I can just see my active contracts, which are those two. So that seems that my split choice is working. Let me try my merge choice as well. Go ahead and click on this here, and I want to invoke merge. And I'm going to merge this with the contract ID of the other one, which is 2:1. Hit submit. That succeeded. And now if I go back to contracts, I have a single one. If I see the archived, the 300 and 700 have been archived, and the only one I have is a single one. And I should expect that this quantity is back to 1,000, which is the case. So it looks like my Daml model is properly working, my split and merge choices. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually create a UI for my application and launch it to Project Daml.
Yeah, just one other comment, Dimitri. So you saw the archive contracts. That is another feature out of the box that Daml provides, which is that you cannot operate on a contract twice. So he merged 1,000 contract. He split it into two contracts. So he cannot split the same contract again. He cannot split the same object again into two other fields because the contract is automatically archived. So this is something that again, aids developer productivity significantly.
Great. So let me quit my local stack and clear my terminal here. And then the next thing that I need to do is I need to go to the Daml UI template and clone some code and bring it into my project. So what I can do here is I can get out of the meetup and I'll go to my the Daml UI template page, clone this repo. So let me copy the clone link, go back here and say git clone and paste it. Great. And then let me open a Finder window so I could move over my the assets that I want for my application. Okay, so in the Daml UI template, I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to deselect the Daml and the Daml YAML because I've rewritten it, so no need to bring anything over. And I'm going to copy this and paste it inside my meetup project. Okay, great. So now I need to go back to my Visual Studio Code, and I see that the UI assets have been added. Before I proceed with editing the front-end code, I need to rename some of the boilerplate code, given that my project name is called Meetup and not Daml UI template. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to search for every instance of Daml UI template. And I'm just going to replace it with Meetup. Click replace all. Okay, and that should be good enough. Okay, so now what I need to do is I'm going to use the JavaScript version of the UI. There's a TypeScript version as well if you're more familiar with TypeScript and you like strongly typed contents. And what I need to do is I need to incorporate the logic on my report page to allow for those two new choices. So if I go to pages, report.js, I do see these 4 fields that I was seeing in the UI, and a single action called give that was able to give TVs, laptops, and cars to use. So let me do the same thing, add 2 more choices for the choices I added, as well as the amount field that we added. So copy this, paste it twice, and then rename the give to split, and also rename the other give to merge. Okay. And I also need the field of amount. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add the amount field. I'm going to call this amount. And for the actions, I have 2 new actions. I'm going to copy this twice. And I'm going to change this to split. And for new owner, this is going to be the split amount. And my choices, I'm going to use my new choice called split. And as a placeholder here, I'm going to say, and last but not least, for my merge, I'm going to change this to merge. And merge needs another asset ID, so other asset contract ID. And the placeholder text for this, let's make it other Okay, so this looks
Dimitri, one quick question here. So in this case, our asset was the same as the default. The template name was the same as
correct.
asset. So in case the template name is different, all that the users have to do is to replace asset with their template name, right?
Yes, there's one more step. We have, if you can see here, there's a library called daml2ts. This means that we generate TypeScript components off of your Daml model. Now, given the similarity of the Daml model that was on the Daml UI template and the one we wrote, we don't really need to change the naming here. But if you have a completely custom model, what you could do is you could run the code generator, which I'm going to show right after this, and it's going to create those TypeScript assets for you, which you can then use as I'm using on your application. So let's go ahead and follow the steps to do that. I'm going to save this file, and I am going to go to the README. And there's a quick start, but there's also a deploying to Daml section right here that I'm interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my console. And the first thing I need to do is I need to build my Daml model. So I'm just going to issue here, I'm going to go to my meetup folder, and I'm going to issue a Daml build. Okay, so my Daml is compiled. Next up is the code generation step that I just mentioned. So I'm going to copy over this line. And what this does is it reads my the compiled DAR, and it generates those TypeScript assets that I can then use in my front end. So this gives me some output that generated the proper construct. And the next thing I need to do is, because I haven't done it once, I guess we need to fix the instructions here as well to add one more step, is I need to do a yarn install workspaces run install before I do it. This is something that you need to do only once, and then you can keep on using the build. So let me invoke this. And this is going to take some time to build. And we'll soon be done with the install step, and we'll just need to run the build step. Okay, my yarn workspaces run install step is finished. So I'm going to invoke the yarn workspaces run build step. This needs also some time to build. Okay, so after some time, my assets have been built. So what I need to do right now is to package them up and then drag and drop them in my ledger and project Daml to deploy. So I'll start with packaging my my Daml first for deployment. So I'm gonna do the Daml build, but I am gonna output the DAR file to parent directory. I'm gonna call this meetup.dar. Okay, so that's done for my UI, for my Daml, I'm sorry. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for my UI. So I'm gonna go to the UI JavaScript, and I'm gonna say zip on every directory, and I'm gonna also output it on the parent directory. I'm gonna call this meetup UI. That's .zip. And what I'm gonna zip up is the build folder that was created after I invoked the build. Okay, so that should be done. And then I can open my Explorer window. And I see those two assets that I just, those two files that I just created. I'm going to click on them and then just drag and drop them on the drop zone of the collections. Great. If I expand, I see that they've made it through. So I click on them, and what I do is I click on deploy. I'm selecting the webinar project and the meetup ledger. I'm clicking submit. And I see that I get 2 success notifications for my DAR file and my zip file. And these 2 artifacts have now been uploaded to the ledger. Okay, so now my meetup ledger is ready after I uploaded my assets to it. So I'm gonna click inside. And I see that indeed I have the meetup.dar as under my Daml models. And if I navigate to the UI assets, I see that I have my UI as represented as static assets. And I haven't published it under my site. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Click on publish and get prompted if I want to agree, I confirm. And now I should see that my assets have moved into the published state. And there's a little link here that I could visit the site that are published on. The subdomain that the publication happened is given here. It's basically the ledgerid.projectdaml.com. So I could just go copy the URL, open a new tab, paste it, hit enter.
So Project Daml automatically gives you a hosted version of your web app as well.
Yep. And let's not confuse the two. Let me dismiss the old one. So I have the new version of my app deployed. I'm going to click login with Daml. And I am in. I have an empty view, but now I can see that the amount field that we wrote is here, and I have the split and merge choices that we wrote. So let's go ahead and try this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an asset, and then I'm going to invite Manish, chop some of it off, and then transfer it. So let's do that. Click on my console here, go to live data, and add a contract. Scroll down to asset. And now I see that the asset has the amount field as well. So I'm going to become the issuer, the owner. I'm going to use US dollars, and I'm going to issue $1,000. Submit. And I see an asset gets created here. And if I switch back to my template, now I see that the 1,000 of US dollars showed up here. Let's test the split. So I'm going to again do a 300-700 split. Great. My amounts have changed to 300 and 700. Let me split this even further to, let's say, 100. Okay, great. And let me test my merge functionality. So I'm gonna merge the 100 with a 700. So I'm gonna go here and type in 281, which is the contract ID of the 100. Click on merge. Great. So now I have a 200-800 split, which is what I was looking for. Let me invite Manish to this new application. I'm going to copy the URL. I'm going to paste it as well on our chat here.
Okay, yeah, so I have the URL now, and just like before, I'm going to log into Project Daml so that I show up on Dimitri's ledger, and then so he can give me the asset. Yeah, I'm logged in, Dimitri.
Great, I see you. Let me go fetch your party ID. Copy. And I am going to transfer you $200. Click on the give choice. The owner has changed here to Manish for the amount of 200. And Manish, would you like to share your screen, split it, and give me back some smaller amount from the 200?
Yeah, sure. I do see the 200. So let me share my screen now and show everyone how it works. Yeah, so as everybody can see on my screen, I have $200. So 200, yeah, USD. And I'm going to maybe split it and give 100 back to Dimitri. So yeah, now I have $200 assets, and I'm going to give $100 back to I need to type in Dimitri's user ID, and I'm going to give him back $100. So I'm left with 100. Okay, and I'm going to give it back to you, Dimitri, so you can check.
Thank you. Back to my screen. We see that I do indeed own $100, and and the other $100 are owned by Manish, but I remain the issuer on all of these assets. And that should be it.
Perfect. So I think that's so you see how we had a concept. We created a quick Daml model for it, which was about 25 to 40 lines of code. Because Daml is a very purpose fit language, and then of course we were able to reuse the Daml UI template, which is written in React. We were able to make some minor changes, and we've got our first application up and running on Daml, completely public facing. So you can send the URL to all of your stakeholders and get them to try your app out and validate your idea, and then go from there. Just one more thing, Dimitri, I wanted to share with the audiences. If you could show them on the docs the APIs that the ledger exposes automatically, in case they want to write their own React stuff, like instead of using the template. And also, if you can show them quickly the login with Daml button on the docs. I mean, we don't have to code it, just show them where they are.
Sure thing. Back to sharing my screen. We have a little docs link that you can click here that gives you a getting started guide as well as the API documentation. This is on docs.projectdaml.com. If I click on the API documentation, I see that all the endpoints that I could read contracts, exercise choices, and create new contracts are listed here. And there, as well as some guides of inviting, onboarding people to the ledger, which means leveraging this login with Daml button, which is pretty simple to integrate to any front-end application, which is essentially a button that redirects the user to a login link and passes in the ledger ID of your deployed ledger.
Perfect. Yeah, that's it. So anybody who's wanting to write the stuff from scratch, instead of using the template, they can just use these simple APIs exposed on the left automatically by Daml when you upload your Daml model. And then you can write your UI and host it on Project Daml as well. So I think there you have it. Just one final point I wanted to make. So we looked at Daml, and then obviously we looked at Daml as well. The one nice thing about Daml is that we refer to the word contract every time, right? So for people who are new to the smart contract world, contracts, as you saw, are just another word for writing classes and objects. You can think of them in that way, with obviously the many benefits that using such a paradigm offers. The point I wanted to make was, now that you've written your applications in Daml, Daml obviously is portable, completely portable across a variety of ledgers. So in case, folks who are writing blockchain applications, for example, you could easily use Project Daml to not only prototype, but also go live. But in case your project requires another ledger, like for example, you want to deploy it on VMware's blockchain or Corda blockchain, or you even want to deploy it on, say, Amazon's QLDB, because Daml runs on databases as well. Your code is absolutely, completely portable. All you have to do is follow the party provisioning, user provisioning guidelines of the new ledger. But everything else in your application, including your front end and all your Daml models, are completely portable. And obviously, Project Daml provides you a way to go to production. But in case you want to deploy to another infrastructure, your application code is completely portable. So that's it. So I think we are done. Thank you so much, Dimitri, for showing us how we can go from an idea to writing your front end, writing your business logic, hosting it on Project Daml, and going live.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and hope it helped. Thank you very much.